Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Haley Deshane and I'm the events coordinator here at Eco Canada. Welcome to the What's Your Green Talent Worth? A guided tour of our new environmental salary report webinar. Before we start, I would like to take a moment to recognize the traditional Indigenous lands where Eco Canada's office is based in Calgary. At Eco Canada, we're committed to working towards respectful acknowledgement, collaboration, and reconciliation with Indigenous peoples across Canada. This starts with acknowledging our honor and privilege to live and work within the Treaty 7 territory. Today we are presenting from the City of Calgary, home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. We would also like to take this time to acknowledge the traditional territories and oral practices of the Niitsitapi, home of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which includes the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai First Nations, and the Tsuut'ina and Goodstoney, which include Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. I also want to go over a few housekeeping guidelines for today's session to ensure that everyone can enjoy and participate in our session effectively. All participants are muted, so please check your audio settings to ensure that you can hear us properly. If you are experiencing any technical issues, please use the chat function on the left-hand side of your screen, and we can do our best to resolve it for you. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available for your viewing in 24 hours. Any questions that you have about the presentation or today's topic can be submitted through the question box, and we'll have a dedicated time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions from the audience. Finally, we really want to know what you think about our webinars and how we can keep improving. You will be sent a short survey after the webinar ends. Please let us know what you think or if you have any comments or suggestions. Eco Canada's vision is to build the world's leading environmental workforce. Eco Canada seeks to help environmental workers succeed at each step of their career journey. To do this, Eco Canada has developed programs tailored to individuals at different stages of their career. Eco Canada also provides opportunities for new workers to break into the environmental sector through wage funding for co-op students and recent post-secondary graduates. For those already employed as environmental workers, Eco Canada provides the Environmental Professional, EP, and Environmental Professional in Training, EPT certifications, as well as EPT students. Lastly, Eco Canada provides opportunities for those with vast experience as environmental workers to provide guidance and direction to Eco Canada's products and programs through advisory committees. I will now pass it on to our speakers, Geni Peters and Andrew Janczyk.
Thank you, Haley. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad that you've joined us today for what I hope is going to be a very informative webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about one of Eco Canada's research products. The focus is on salaries in the environmental space. The research team at Eco Canada is small but mighty. We produce a lot of different types of research. These salary guides are just one of the many types of research we have available on our website. If you're interested in forecasts for hiring, or if you're interested in what the job market looks like these days, or even just what environmental skills are required for different jobs, Eco Canada's probably got a research product that's available that's going to provide you answers. Now, this salary guide was just published here in July, and it is a new way of benchmarking what employers could consider to be reasonable salaries for environmental workers in their organizations. So let's jump into kind of why we went into producing this, and then we'll talk a little bit about the actual guide itself. So let's move to the next slide, Haley. So one of the questions we get is, what is it that makes environmental compensation different than, say, compensation for other roles? And there are a number of aspects that make environmental roles a little bit more challenging to get salary data for, but also more important to get salary data for. We know that there is definitely a growing demand for environmental expertise across all industries in this country. So whether you're talking about public administration, the government, whether you're talking about private sector, oil and gas, forestry, agriculture, oceans work, or manufacturing of new technology or constructing energy efficient buildings, environmental expertise is in demand. However, the growth of workers who have that expertise is a little slower than we would like to see, which makes the market quite competitive, makes it quite challenging for employers. So attracting and retaining environmental talent is a very important strategic priority for these organizations, especially when they're moving towards greater sustainability, whether it's reducing greenhouse gas emissions or becoming a little bit more aware or reduce the waste that they create. There are different environmental priorities that an organization might have, but attracting and retaining the talent that they need is important in order to be able to do that. And because attracting talent is important, we need to make sure that the compensation that's being offered for these roles is going to be attractive to the workers who have those skills and are looking for that job. So to keep and recruit workers, compensation is one of those key pieces of information, key factors that make a difference. So this is one of the reasons, these are some of the reasons that we focused on this salary guide here today. Let's move on to the next slide. So there are a number of additional challenges that environmental employers face that a lot of other employers don't have. One of them is that there is a rapid evolution of what environmental workers do. There's a lot of innovation in this space, a lot of new technology, new processes, new regulations, new legislation that needs to be adapted to. It's constantly changing. And because of that, keeping track of the different types of roles that are involved in environmental work and their responsibilities can be a challenge for employers. Another aspect of it is because of those shifting expectations due to new technologies, new skills are going to be required, and often employers are going to have to pay a little bit more to get those skills, especially if there's a short supply of workers with those skills. And then lastly, environmental roles, specifically environmental workers like sustainability professionals and energy analysts, are often missing from general salary surveys. So there are salary surveys out there produced for engineers and for healthcare professionals and for a wide variety of different professionals. Environmental roles are not necessarily covered in those salary guides. So we're trying to fill in the gap with this particular product. Let's move to the next slide. So this report is a little bit different than some of the other compensation guides that we've created. This is a new methodology that we've adopted. We're actually using role-specific or salaries for roles identified by job title this time, rather than for broad occupational groups. So we were able to gather data, salary data, for 41 different roles in a variety of different organizations that have environmental components to their work. Some of them are very specifically environmental roles, ecologists, environmental consultants, sustainability consultants, and sustainability specialists. Some of them may be more tangential, or maybe not all of the work that they do is focused on environmental activities. Let's take a construction manager or a construction inspector, for example. But all of these roles have an impact on our economic goals. And so we've included them in this particular salary guide because they are both environmental roles and there was sufficient data available for us to include the information in our report. So let's talk a little bit more about what that data, where that data came from and what we can do with that data. So I don't know, you may be familiar with PayScale. PayScale is an online service where individuals of any background can go in and they can supply their own information about their salary and their job and their roles and responsibilities. And in exchange for providing that information, PayScale provides them with some benchmarking data related to the work that they do. So an individual who's working as a civil engineer can go into PayScale. They can identify that, I've got 5 staff working under me. I've got 6 years of experience. I've got a bachelor's degree education. This is my certification, and this is how much I get paid. That data goes into the database, and then the database becomes open for the individual who just submitted their data to get access to find out what other civil engineers are making in that space. So they can kind of benchmark their own salaries. What we have is access to a subscription with PayScale, where PayScale provides us the ability to see all of that data without having to submit individual data ourselves. So we have taken that opportunity, that subscription, and we've dug into the different roles that we think are important for environmental work, and we've searched out what salary data has been provided by employees themselves in this particular space. Now, one of the great things about this particular data set is it is quite up to date. So these salaries that we reported are relevant as of early 2025. So it's much more quick for us to get these salary data up and running and into a product for you guys from this PayScale data set. PayScale also does a great job in vetting the data. They make sure that the data is accurate, that it's required, that it's up to date for it's no older than 365 days old. And then they also make sure that the information that's provided with regard to roles and responsibilities is consistent across the different individuals that they group into an occupation. So they do quite a bit of work in the background to make sure that this data really is representative of the roles that they're providing the data for. Let's move on to the next slide. So next, I'd like to give you a flavor of what information you will find for any given one of those 41 roles in this PayScale salary guide. So I've chosen water treatment operator as one of the roles. I think it's the last role in the actual salary guide itself. So whenever there's a role that is provided in the salary guide, we also like to provide a short summary of what that individual will do or what that role does. In particular, we like to focus if it's a role that is not necessarily always doing environmental work, we like to focus on what aspects of that job are involved in environmental activities. In this case, water treatment operators, their whole job is to treat drinking water, and they're monitoring water quality, and they keep public health safe. So all of their work is environmental as far as we're concerned. The next slide is going to show a summary of the overall compensation data that we provide for any given role. So this particular set of compensation data has 2 parts to it. It provides the base pay salary as well as total cash compensation. So the difference between a base pay salary and total cash compensation is usually going to be made up in the form of bonuses or stock options or other types of monetary compensation above the base salary. In this case, when we look at water treatment operators, we can see that there's not much difference between the total cash compensation and the base salary, which suggests that in general, water treatment operators are not getting big bonuses, they're not getting stock options, that's just not part of their compensation package. If you take a look at some of the other roles in our PayScale salary guide, you're going to see that sometimes there's a $10,000 difference between the base salary and the total compensation. So it really does vary from role to role. The other thing that this particular slide shows is that there is a range of, there is some variation in terms of the overall range of salaries that are paid. So down at the bottom of the distribution of salaries, the 10th percentile, that represents the kind of bottom 10% of the workers in that particular salary range, are making about $35,200 a year in base pay. When you go up to the middle of the distribution, that salary rises to about $54,500, and when you go up towards the top of the distribution, the 90th percentile, you're looking at about $84,400. Now, there are lots of different factors that are going to influence where a particular employee falls in this distribution. The amount of experience they have often has an influence. So people with lower experience are generally going to have lower salaries. It's going to be different based on the size of the organization that they're working for. We often find that organizations that are larger tend to have slightly higher salaries. We also know that individuals who have got some supervisory capacity, so people who are supervising others within their work space, often have slightly higher salaries as well. So let's take that $54,500, which is the median salary, and let's move on to the next slide, and let's compare that and take a look at where that salary fits in terms of the median base pay by experience level and by supervisory responsibility. So if we take a look at the $54,500 and we try to fit that into the median base pay by experience level, we see that that falls within 5 to 10 years of experience. So that suggests that the median employee is probably representing about between 5 and 10 years of experience. So they've got some ample experience there reflected in the work that they're doing. In terms of the supervisory responsibility, we see that an individual making $54,500 falls between 1 employee and 5 employees in terms of supervisory responsibility. So the individual could be a person who has a little bit of employee responsibility, and they could also have maybe about 5 years of experience. That could be what is leading to that median salary. And then as the median salary, as the experience goes up, and as the number of employees that are being supervised goes up, that median salary goes up as well. So this is the type of data that we provide in this new pay scale salary guide. We are hoping to continue this and do this on an annual basis. The salary guide is available right now on our website for a price of $199. And as part of that purchase price, we're throwing in some HR services for employers. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrew to talk a little bit about those HR services.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jenny. Really great overview of the guide. And you touched on already quite a few areas where the guide really can impact, some of your HR services that you have internally. So my name's Andrew. I'm the Human Resources Business Partner at Eco Canada. I've been in HR for over a decade now, and really enjoying my role here at Eco, where I've had a chance to really get a look at some of these total rewards packages, and our research team, head by Jenny, is fantastic, sort of the backbone of what we do. So providing that data and then letting us work with it is really what I love about that. So I think it's the main point that I kind of want to be here for today is just how do you take some of this information that Jenny's provided through this research guide and that the research team has provided and actually implement it into your day-to-day practices. So as Jenny was mentioning throughout her sort of slides there, there's a lot of different areas that kind of leave area for you to kind of say, okay, well, how does this actually impact my business? So that's where we can come in and help with that and say, in terms of different areas in HR, what are the areas that you're looking for, some of the policies, some of the strategies behind those policies, and really making a difference and utilizing that guide in a real life kind of live environment. So some of the areas that our HR services would focus on in terms of the compensation guide are outlined here. The first would be our recruitment processes outsourcing. So in terms of recruitment, that's pretty straightforward. We're able to do a lot more advertising, screening, job description development, and really tying that in with that comp guide and what you're looking for. We can also help facilitate interviews and shortlist candidates. So kind of your whole recruitment cycle. One great thing about our HR services is that they are very flexible packages. So if you're looking to just do one piece of the recruitment package, like you wanted to create a job description based off of your comp guide and your sort of requirements, we're able to do that. So and just that, we don't have to continue on in the process. Then again, we're also able to do full cycle recruitment where we would do the whole sort of process. And then our second piece here would be in terms of valuable market compensation information and analysis. So this really helps you budget and make the right kind of hiring decisions, recruitment decisions, structuring your entire recruitment process around that compensation piece, which is really important as we've kind of seen throughout Geni's talk and as we'll see in some of my later slides as well. And then for number three, we've got complex business models. So in terms of complex business models and talent planning, this is where we can come in and actually look at talent supply, demand analysis, gap analysis, compensation and benefits, benchmarking. So different areas that would be really more focused on complex business needs, as I mentioned before. So really, if you are more of a complex organization, which I think a lot of organizations probably in this webinar today are maybe small to medium size, so it might not apply as much there. But these are great if you're trying to scale up or go international. We can definitely help with some of that stuff as well. And then finally, our customized HR solutions for employers. So this is really just highlighting that we can do out of the box options. We can really do ad hoc sort of packages depending on your needs. And again, this is all based off of this comp guide and the roles that you're looking to hire. So I think that the comp guide is great for really establishing, kind of frameworks and kind of processes that you need to really look at, but we can help kind of implement those processes in the day-to-day. We'll go to the next slide there. Perfect. So I think it's important to kind of take a look and see why this is important. And, Geni highlighted throughout some of the importance of the comp guide and where it kind of plays in from an HR perspective and from a, just overall kind of business process perspective with an HR lens. I think what is really important here, as this slide kind of highlights, is that compensation is a lot more than just a paycheck. Geni touched on a lot of the different total rewards in there, and I really love that one piece about the that showed the difference between the base pay and the actual pay with rewards, because then you can definitely see then where the difference is and where the compensation strategy aligns. So in today's tight labor market, especially within the environmental sector, compensation is one of the main factors, and it plays a pivotal role with attracting and retaining talent, but also, as we see here, with retaining that talent and really making sure that it stays at the organization. I found this stat really interesting that, and it's not surprising, but over 75% of job seekers still consider salary as the number one priority. So, in a world where we're seeing a lot more towards that sort of benefits, work-life balance, some of these other sort of pieces that are coming in, compensation is still by far the deciding factor. And then in terms of staying as well, so staying power, a lot of people are leaving roles because they see different compensation benchmarks, such as Geni was mentioning. You can go to pay scale, you can see, oh, I could be making this here. Well, they're doing that research, and then that's a problem for retention, because if you're not matching that research or not matching that sort of level, they will leave. So it's really important to kind of be on top of these trends and really see where your compensation structure lies in terms of the market, in terms of the sector. So I think it's just, again, highlighting that this compensation strategy supports all of your hiring goals, your employee engagement, your long-term retention. It really is the fabric of your sort of business structure. And in the end, it's a business, people want to make money for it, and the business wants to make money too. So I think, this is really a key piece. On the next slide, we'll see that some of the um, most common sort of challenges in terms of HR and compensation. And some of this is fairly straightforward, but I think it does bear importance to highlight it. And this is where Eco Canada's HR services can really come in and help you with some of these challenges and some of these different pieces. So I just put some questions up here, but common sort of compensation challenges. So why can't we fill the roles fast enough? Your salary bands may be out of sync with market expectations. So, you might have an opportunity to review the comp guide and really see where you're at. So if you're finding that that is a problem for you specifically, definitely get in that comp guide and really, really analyze where you're at. Why do we have such high turnover? So this is a great question. Definitely not all related to compensation, but I think that it kind of does stem from this piece. So employees may lack clarity on how pay ties into growth and recognition. Pay transparency, especially with pay equity acts that are coming out, and I think it was 2018 and just implemented recently in 2024, where some of this stuff is going to become law, and it's actually going to become part of what you have to do as an organization. So having this transparent system in place really allows you to take that step forward in terms of your HR kind of leadership and where you're at there. It allows employees to see the growth and recognition that they're receiving. So, having accurate compensation bands that continue to match that employee's growth will definitely help you retain talent, and is probably one of the number one factors for that. Question 3, should our organizations be worried about pay equity and transparency? And I love this question. Of course, yes. Everybody should in any business. I think that that's essential. But I think we're just highlighting again, that pay compensation missteps really can lead to, I think a big key point here is risk, in terms of the organization, but also reputational harm and poor morale. So you're going to see a lot less culture in the organization, positive culture, where you're getting, tangible ROI and return on investment from that culture because people are happy to come to work. That's not going to be the case if your compensation isn't matching. Unfortunately, that's just a proven fact. So I think it's just really important to highlight some of these challenges. And again, Eco Canada's HR services, our goal is really just to help you put these sort of principles and really high level sort of ideas into practice, into your HR policies, and helping with practical tools, expert guidance and guidelines. So one way we can do that, which I want to highlight on the next slide, is through our Eco Canada job board. And from this angle, I think it's interesting to look at the job board, not so much just as a posting platform where you can go on and post roles, which yes, of course you can as any job board, but because this is a national job board, a Canadian environmental specific national job board, it's actually a great place to go and benchmark as well. So, obviously it's tougher to do on your own without the research guidance and expertise of, Geni's team. And that's why the comp guide is there to help you. But if there are roles that maybe aren't on the comp guide too, you can go onto the job board and really get an idea for what other people are posting in the industry, in the sector, different trends, different compensation kind of total rewards. Like you'll see are people offering benefits, hopefully, are people offering flexible spending accounts? Are they offering additional training, additional compensation in terms of academia, in terms of all of these different kind of benchmarks that help kind of tell where you're at for compensation. Again, that's why I really love that piece that Geni highlighted, where it showed the difference in the base salary with total compensation, because that's often a lot more indicative of kind of where roles are at too. So yeah, really go in there and try to have a look at some of this stuff, not just from a recruitment tool perspective, but also to keep a pulse on, where we're at with compensation trends in the sector. You can definitely see emerging skills in there as well. You can see the demand for different talent pipelines and different sort of career progressions and pathways just by going on the job board and just looking at the roles. You can see sometimes different, well, I can see on the admin side some really cool stuff, but, just using some of that kind of intuition on the job board will definitely help you with some of that. I'm definitely happy to help if you reach out. If it's just a quick one-off, you can add me to LinkedIn. Happy to check something quickly. If it is more of a in-depth question or an in-depth sort of analysis that you're looking for, then either myself or Geni can definitely assist, usually through our HR services, and I'd be happy to provide links there. So really, that's all I wanted to chat about in terms of our kind of HR side. I could talk all day probably about this and compensation. It's a really exciting piece for HR nerds like me. So, but I will stop there. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew and Geni. That was great. We do have a couple questions. Reminder, if anyone has any questions, please submit them through the chat box. This is our designated question period, so we'll be going through them. You can also scan the QR code on the screen and check out the salary guide on our website and see more about it and see the link to purchase it too if that's what you're interested in. So questions. Is there information available for people that work alone, or is it only for employers?
Well, I think the answer to the question is the guide is generally put together for individuals who are in a hiring capacity. So individuals who are in HR or are hiring managers to be able to benchmark data. There is some salary data available. We have another compensation guide, which has we have a free salary guide attached to that. And if you're interested in that, we can probably direct you that direction as well. But for this one, either you can go in and you can put your information in pay scale and see what others in your discipline are making, or you can take a look at the free other free compensation guide that we've got available.
Yeah, and I would just add from the HR service perspective that we do offer assistance for individuals and job seekers as well. So if you are looking for help with finding a role, a job, we can definitely go through different options there. There's a lot of different career coaching options. The job board itself as well, you can definitely go on there and check out any roles in the sector, and that's a great place to start. Our EPT, as Haley mentioned at the start as well, our EPT or EPTS for students designation is also something I'd highly recommend for anyone that's kind of either looking to get into the sector or kind of advance themselves within the sector, because this is like a designation for environmental professionals, really shows your kind of passionate about this sector. So great for networking, great for mentorship, great for a lot of different training pieces. So I would highly recommend that if you are an individual that's looking to break into the sector.
Thank you both for that. Another question, are the compensation amounts shared in the guide averaged across Canada, or do they also show provincial or regional compensation?
Thank you. That's a good question. So the challenge we face is that many of these roles have very small sample sizes, even when we're looking at it from a national perspective. So we don't have an opportunity for these roles to look at it from a regional breakdown perspective. So these are all national, this is all national data. So the distribution of the salary ranges will be a national distribution.
Awesome. Does the guide provide a salary range or just the median?
The guide provides all of the data that I showed you today. So it's got that chart with the 10th, 25th, 50th, 75th, and 90th percentiles. And then it's got the breakdown for the median salary by experience level and by supervisory responsibility.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like we have a couple people asking kind of the same questions. But we have someone else wondering, is it okay to share your contact, your emails with everyone here, Andrew and Jenny? Just they have some questions about um, following up with the HR services and things like that. Am I able to share your emails in the chat?
Yep. For me, I will be away on vacation for a couple of weeks, which is great. What I would do if you are interested in HR services is reach out to hr@eco.ca. That way, my colleague can take in an intake form for you, and we can kind of get the process started. And then, in terms of me personally, if you would like to stay connected, I'd be happy to connect on LinkedIn if you have LinkedIn. So just search my name, Andrew Janzik, there and add me there and send me any messages. I try to respond as long as I'm not on vacation. I try to respond as quickly as possible. So yeah, happy there.
Perfect. Yeah, I just did put that hr@eco.ca email in the chat, so anyone who's looking for that can just easily copy and paste it. We have some questions about specific roles, so max and minimum base salaries for sustainability analysts and specialists, and things like that. Would these be things that would be found in the guide, Jenny?
Well, I'm just going to pull up my slide that's got the list of roles that we've got. So, yes, sustainability analyst is one of the roles. I don't know if you want to scroll back to the what this report offers slide, Haley. It's got a list of all 41 of the roles that we do have data for. There we go. There we go. Okay, so for all of these roles that are listed here, we have provided the same sort of data as I showed you for the water treatment operator. So we've got the chart that has the 10th, 25th, 50th, 75th, and 90th percentile base and total compensation. And then we've also got the breakdowns for the median base salary and total compensation by experience level and by supervisory responsibility. If you don't see a role on here, it's probably because we weren't able to get enough data to be able to report it. So that's the main decision maker in terms of whether we provide a role in this guide or not. We've tried to make it as expansive as possible.
Awesome. Someone's wondering if the numbers provided are in Canadian dollars.
They are all in Canadian dollars, yes.
Perfect. Someone said, I understand this is mostly for employers, and I understand you need income streams, but not making this available to general employees or potential employers seems to be perpetuating the problems of compensation. Is there a way to access this data as a job seeker? I think this compensation guide, and Jenny, you can speak more to this, but it is available for anyone who wants to purchase it. It's available on the Eco Canada website, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it's available and nobody's restricted from purchasing it. It's just that this, unlike some of the other research that we put out on our website, is not available, I guess, for free, or at least it's not taxpayer funded in this case. This is funded by Eco Canada, and so we are looking to hopefully recover a little bit of the cost that we've incurred in creating it.
Perfect. Thanks for clearing that up, Jenny. Another person asks, if their role isn't in the guide, is there a way to know more? Do you offer special research for other career paths?
Certainly, I think this would be an HR services type of activity where Andrew and I could collaborate on some sort of package, which would we would delve as deep as we could in terms of getting that data available for you.
I agree.
Awesome. Well, that seems to be all the questions. If anyone does have any more, oh, just kidding, we have another question. Um, are the services available in French? Do we have a French compensation guide?
We do have a French compensation guide, that's correct.
Yeah, and then in terms of HR services, we don't have full HR services in French. We can do job descriptions, certain pieces, but yeah, the majority of the actual HR services at this moment we don't offer for French, unfortunately. Something we're looking to add in the future.
Another question, is this guide applicable as well for entrepreneurs?
Well, the data is gathered for individuals in all different types of enterprises. So some of the data that's provided by these employees could be self-employed individuals who are providing the data. In other cases, it could be people working for other organizations. So we're not excluding self-employed people from the data set, and certainly they could use that as a kind of a guidance for what they might be looking for in terms of compensation. I would keep in mind, though, if you're self-employed, say a contract worker, because you're probably not going to get the same benefits as an employed individual, you may want to consider that as part of your compensation ask when you're contracting with another organization.
Awesome. Thank you both, Andrew and Jenny. That's all the questions today. I do just want to take this opportunity to drive everyone towards the events calendar on the Eco Canada website so you can explore all of our upcoming webinars and events there. And yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. We put the hr@eco.ca email in the chat, and you can also reach out to the events@eco.ca email if you have any other questions. But thank you all for so much for joining us, and thank you, Jenny and Andrew, for all the great information today.
So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day.